What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live to give you my week number 9 NFL picks, analyzing each matchup, previewing each game, and giving you my picks straight up and against the spread each and every week here on the Bottom Line View. But as you know, before we get started, there's always something that we gotta do. We just have to do it. And that is, Gronk Spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this and weekly NFL picks. I also wouldn't mind if you hit that notification bell. I rarely say it, but guys, it's a big deal. Hit that notification bell to get alerts to the latest upload. Also, comment your questions, comment your opinion in the comment section, whether you're here live with me right now or you're not. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. We are here, week 9. No politics, bro. Politics is not a part of the Bottom Line View. You see, is there a football in the logo? It's about football here on the Bottom Line View. We're going to stick to the football, and we are going to get into these games down and dirty, because I'm not here to give you my opinion on who the president is or who it should be or what's going to happen, all right? So, let's start off with the first matchup, which is Thursday Night Football, guys. Thursday Night Football between the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Green Bay traveling to San Francisco. Green Bay minus 6 points. It may have actually gone up because San Francisco just about an hour ago announced that Trent Williams, the left tackle, out. All right, out. Trent Williams, out of there. You also have your receivers. Deebo Samuel, he is out, was unlikely to play, but officially ruled out. Brandon Ayuk, also out, surprisingly. So, they really don't have any receivers. Kendrick Bourne, I believe, is on the COVID list. Jordan Reed has a chance to play, but I don't know if he is. He's limited at practice right now to take over for potentially George Kittle being out for what's most likely the entire season. Of course, they did also say that Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the entire season, which means Nick Mullins gets another opportunity in the NFL to be a starting quarterback. We'll see what he can do with this opportunity. It's funny with Nick Mullins. I think we should start there because Mullins, before his first start versus the Eagles this year, people were talking about if he could play well in that spot, there's a potential quarterback controversy in San Francisco that maybe he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And there was also talk that, hey, maybe if Garoppolo's still the guy in San Francisco, maybe they could trade him and get some assets out of him. So that's interesting. He has another opportunity to provide and prove that that first game, it wasn't really what he truly is. He's closer to what he was the first couple games he played in the NFL, this game in the NFL, and he's going to have basically half a season to prove whether he can be the guy or not for an NFL team or to be worthy of an investment of some sort. Maybe not, a starting franchise quarterback, but a guy that could be a bridge starter, a guy that could be a high-profile backup in this league for a long time. So Mullins has a lot riding on these next few games in the rest of this season, I do believe. And we're going to see the best from him, whatever that may entail. I'm not exactly sure what it entails, if it's good, if it's bad. We've seen good from him. We've seen bad from him. He was like the 5th highest rated passer last week, according to PFF. So not so bad last week. He was certainly better than Jimmy, what he offered for the 49ers with the bummed ankle. So the 49ers are a team that's extremely beat up. We covered it on the bottom line. I went through the list, the laundry list, basically, bro, of the injuries for the 49ers. From Nick Bosa to they sold Quan Alexander to the Saints, one of their linebackers. They lost Trent Williams at left tackle to the receivers. A lot of guys are hurt. They're like on their 4th string running back. Hasty is expected to get the start alongside Jerick McKinnon. For the Packers, they are missing Aaron Jones, more than likely. Now, he might play. He's a game-time decision, but it's unlikely that he'll play. Aaron Jones is one of the best all-around running back playmakers in football. But again, guys, running backs don't really necessarily dictate wins and losses. Very rare that a running back has much to do with whether a team wins or losses because of the replacement level of the position in this league. There's so many good running backs, and because their other positions are the reason teams win. Offensive line, quarterback, receivers, even defensively. So Aaron Jones being out is not a big deal. The bigger deal for the Packers is, can they stop Kyle Shanahan this time around? Can they slow down the rushing attack of what Kyle is going to bring with them, from Hasty to McKinnon to Juszczyk to whatever receiver he's going to hand the ball? Is this another version of the NFC Championship game we saw in January and the two dominant performances we saw in 2019? Or will the Packers come out and dominate, given that the 49ers are extremely injured? Now, you look at the matchups in the passing game, and they surely do favor the Packers. Whether it's Alexander on the outside, whether it's not having George Kittle, or it's even the offensive line from a Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith versus a no longer Trent Williams there. The backup left tackle, who I believe is Scully, I think is his name. So there's definitely an advantage for the Packers in the passing game. Now, the running game, does that allow them to be a little bit more aggressive in taking away the running game? And while the 49ers have had some really good rushing performances this year, they haven't been as good without Raheem Mostert there, and they haven't been as good this year as they were last year. There's a variety of reasons for that. You know, the missing playmakers, that sort of stuff does hurt them, from Debo being out, who's a big part of their rushing game. George Kittle, who's a big-time part of their rushing game as a blocker. And then the running back's talent alone, that does help allow that running game to be the best or one of the best in football. But now it's good, but it's not quite as excellent as it was. I think the Packers win this game, and I think I'm going to take the Packers to cover. And the reason being is I am buying into the Aaron Rodgers revenge narrative. It's a Thursday night game, so I do tend to side with the better coach in that matchup, which is Kyle Shanahan for sure. But just given that the Packers are way less beat up, and even if the matchup from last year wasn't ideal for them, you have to think that the Packers have in the back of their minds this monkey that is strapped to their back that they need to peel off. And with their quarterback, multiple running backs, multiple receivers, the best tight end in football, multiple defenders, the Packers should be able to come out and win this game. I wasn't impressed with what I saw with the Vikings game for the Packers. Haven't been impressed with the Packers since that Bucs game so much. But they should just have the overwhelming advantage in terms of talent on both sides of the ball. They should defensively be able to create turnovers, sacks, pressure on Nick Mullins in certain spots that could create a big play. And then on their offensive side, they should be able to pass the ball very well. Remember, Nick Bosa isn't there. Dee Ford is beat up. So it's not like this overwhelming pass rush of San Francisco still exists that gave Aaron Rodgers all these problems last year. So that is the reason I think the Packers win and cover, because Aaron Rodgers will have time to throw. And when he has time to throw, he is dangerous. So as long as the Packers can just be competent at defending the 49ers run game, which I believe they will because the 49ers lack threats in the passing game, they should win this game, and win this game kind of easily, but it will be interesting. I'm cheering for San Francisco because of how undermanned they are and because I want to see an upset, but it's not like, I wish this game had everyone playing, because I think it would be a great game. I mean, this would have been one of the best Thursday night games of the year, but unfortunately, injuries, COVID came in the way of this Thursday nighter being really, really excellent. But I'm taking the Packers to win. The next game is the Denver Broncos at the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is favored by 4 points, I believe. Now, this could have changed as well. Atlanta's coming off a Thursday night win versus Carolina. Denver is coming off a comeback victory over the Chargers. I don't think people are buying into the Broncos, people meaning Vegas. I think that they are leaning towards Atlanta because of the quarterback advantage for Atlanta. They are also at home, given that Matt Ryan is the quarterback compared to Drew Lock. There's a significant advantage there. Now, Calvin Ridley is expected to be out for the game, which does open up the possibility of Matt not playing as well, or, the offense for the Falcons taking a significant hit, because whenever they seem to be missing one of those top 2 receivers, it does hinder their offense for obvious reasons. On the defensive side of the ball, they have been a lot better. They, as in Atlanta, they have been better in the secondary. They've just been more sound tackling wise. They haven't been giving up busted coverages and open passes, and they've been a lot more sound, and I think that's a good thing heading into a matchup versus Drew Lock and the Broncos. An offense that I will say right now is underrated. They're playing solid football. They can run the ball a decent amount. They can pass the ball a decent amount with Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant carrying the way. You got to look at some of the other guys that they have there as well. Hamilton making a big play versus the Chargers. It is unfortunate that they do not have Courtland Sutton this year, because I would have really liked to see what Locke could do with the full repertoire of wide receivers and options and see if he truly is the guy. Because I don't think the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, but they're only a game below 500, and this AFC wild card is pretty much wide open. So it's not like they're out of the mix. I think that's something that, people would probably write off the Broncos already, but that's not exactly the case on paper. But I think that they're looking to see, okay, what can Locke do this year? And he's had up performances. I thought he played really well versus New England. He's had down performances. He played really well versus the Chargers as well. But he's kind of a highly volatile quarterback. So he's young. He'll make some nice throws. He'll make some big-time throws, but also make some key mistakes. So just given the two teams, I want to side with Atlanta here, because I think Atlanta can take advantage of the Broncos' not bad, but not great secondary. And the Broncos are much better defending the run than they are defending the pass. The Chargers put up some points on them. So even without Calvin Ridley, I do think Atlanta can move the ball and score some points. Their defense has been better. Although it's not great or anything, it's still bad. Don't get me wrong. I think this game should be a pretty high-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos won, so I'll take the 4 points with Denver. But I'm going to say Atlanta squeezes a victory out here. I'll take the better quarterback. I'll take the team at home. I like what I've seen from Atlanta enough that I will take them. Now, I will say, Atlanta is not going to be able to run the ball at all in this game. Denver is sneaky excellent versus the run. So it's going to be all on the shoulder of Matt Ryan, but I have more faith in him to get it done than I do Drew Lock. So I'm going to take Atlanta to win in a game that probably not a lot of people will be watching outside of Ultra, but, there's still an audience, I guess. The Seattle Seahawks at the Buffalo Bills. Bills are at home. Seahawks, though, are favored. Interesting, because Buffalo is only a 2-loss team and considered one of the top teams in the AFC. Although I do think that has slightly changed in terms of narrative. I think at the beginning of the year when Josh Allen was firing on full cylinders, MVP talk around him, that conversation has certainly died down in recent weeks. Hasn't performed at the same level. Didn't play great versus New England, although I didn't think he played bad. This is the thing. Allen's stats have dropped off. I don't think his performance has necessarily dropped off significantly in terms of just what you see with your eyes, because he's played better defenses, better teams. He's been in more competitive games. And I think that is changing people's narrative more so than the actual performance. But I do believe in Josh Allen. I also really do believe in let Russ cook. Russell Wilson, who's probably the MVP right now, although I will say Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes are getting a little bit closer in that conversation than, the first few weeks of the season. Going to Buffalo, winning on the East Coast would be an extremely impressive win for me from Seattle. I think beating a top team in the AFC, I don't think there's going to be like any sort of weather hindrance to the offenses. I don't think there's going to be snow or rain or much wind, but it's still a long way to travel. You're playing a team that you're unfamiliar with, and you're playing a team that has all the capability in the world to just absolutely exploit your weakness, which is your secondary. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, they have the ability to light up a bad secondary. And people are going to look at the New England game and say, Allen didn't play well. They couldn't really move the ball. That's because they played a great secondary. They ran the ball. They found their run game versus New England. They won't get as good of a run game versus Seattle, but what I'm finding is that they are starting to lean towards Zach Moss, which I said weeks ago they should have done much earlier. He is the better back of the two, him and Singletary. I believe he'll be able to grind out tough yards when they need to down the stretch, especially when the weather gets colder, it's snowing, it's windy, you need to run the ball. Moss is going to be that guy, in my opinion, for them, just to supplement what they can do in the passing game. But for Buffalo, it's more about what they can do defensively versus Seattle. And honestly, you got to stick Tre'Davious White on DK, and hopefully he fares decently well. You just got to hope that everybody else, let everybody else beat you, not DK Metcalf. Allow Tyler Lockett to get his 5-yard slants as much as you want. Make them drive the course of the field. Seattle's going to move the ball, but can you hold them to field goals? That's the big thing for Buffalo, and can you score touchdowns when you get it? To me, this is just a staple Mitch Milani game. I am going to take Buffalo to win the game because I do not like Seattle traveling across the country versus a team that can exploit some of their weaknesses, even if Jamal Adams is back. Again, would I be absolutely shocked if Seattle won? No, but I'm not believing in what I saw from their defense last week in that first half. I think that was more Jimmy Garoppolo pooping his pants than anything else. I picked Buffalo to win this game before the year. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stay with Buffalo. And I think when they win this game, people are going to look at Buffalo and be like, put them back into the AFC conversation. Although I do think this will have more to do with the other factors. Not so much that they're better than Seattle, because I don't believe that's the case even if they win this game. But it's just the factors of Seattle coming off a couple tough games versus divisional opponents, traveling across the country, Buffalo being at home, being used to the elements, the cold, and then that all coming together. Now, I will maybe change my pick depending on injury reports, but I think it should all be good for Buffalo. Now, I do think Carlos Dunlap's going to be playing in this game for Seattle, so that's something to look forward to if you're a Seahawks fan on your defense, and that may significantly help their pass rush and help stop Josh Allen. We'll just have to see. But I'm going to take Buffalo just because, I don't know. I'm going to stick with my initial thought about this game coming into the season. It just feels like a spot that East Coast team is going to beat that West Coast team. So I'll take the Bills there. I made the mistake last week of taking the Rams over the Dolphins, although I said Dolphins should, have a really good chance of winning, and they matched up really well and all that stuff. So I'm not making that mistake 2 weeks in a row. I think I'm making the right pick, the wise pick there. Baltimore at the Indianapolis Colts. Baltimore is minus 2.5 points, and this to me is a little bit weird of a line. I would have thought that Baltimore would at least be favored by 3. This tells me that Vegas is really high on Indianapolis, although I don't necessarily know if they have the right to be, considering Indianapolis has played by far the weakest schedule in the NFL, according to opponents played. Baltimore, yes, they've lost to Pittsburgh and Kansas City, But if you watch the Pittsburgh game, you would see that they actually dominated a number of the categories and areas of the game versus Pittsburgh. The one area that they lost was turnover differential. And turnover differential, it's obviously the biggest factor to winning a game, but it's also very fluky at times. Baltimore, they're facing a totally different opponent when you think about it from the Colts' perspective. The Colts defensively are very good, and I was extremely impressed with what I saw versus the Lions from their perspective on defense. They stuffed the run game. They were excellent as pass rushing, just rushing for, getting after it. And I do believe they have the advantage in the passing game versus Baltimore from a defense versus Baltimore's offense perspective. But where I'm intrigued is to see, okay, now this is a totally different type of defense. Baltimore really gashed Pittsburgh in the running game. And if they would have just stuck with that from the get-go, they probably would have won that game. Versus Indianapolis, it's a totally different style of defense. It's more built on speed. It's more built on, flowing to the football as opposed to attacking the football and blitzing the run game. I like the Ravens here. I think they're due for a bounce back spot. I'm not quite believing in Indianapolis as an elite team. I don't think they belong in a 2-point, 3-point game with the Ravens. The area that scares me for Indy is playing this Ravens defense. Indy has not been great running the football this year, and Baltimore, that is probably where you can get them more than anywhere else. Rivers facing this aggressive, in-your-face, physical Ravens defense scares me. Because whenever Rivers has played a good defense this year, he's struggled. And so he hasn't really played many good defenses this year. I think Indy is a bit overrated, although I really like their defense, and I think they'll do a decent job of slowing down Lamar and the Ravens offense. I think it's, in fact, the Ravens defense that wins this game and forces some mistakes from the Colts offense. So I'm going to say the Ravens win this game, get back on track, and separate themselves from the Colts in terms of that AFC picture that everybody has in their minds. I think a lot of people are saying the Colts are just as good as the Ravens. They're on the same tier. I think we're going to see the Ravens come out and win this game, and they should win this game. So I'll take the Ravens to win this one and to cover. Next game is the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jags. Jacksonville is starting a new rookie, I think, 6th-round pick of a quarterback. Gardner Minshew has been sat, so that is interesting. Houston, bye week, coming off the bye week. They did not trade Will Fuller. He is still in the lineup. They still have their full core of weapons with Brandon Cooks coming on as of late. David Johnson still there. Randall Cobb still there. So they have their offense intact, and this is a team that beat Jacksonville by 20 points the last time they played. I honestly think Houston's going to run away with this game again. Now, the trend from Vegas has been that home dogs have covered more often than not in division this year. And maybe I'm bucking trends, or I'm trying to go against the trend right now, but I just don't see how Jacksonville wins this game or makes it close with a quarterback I've never seen play at the NFL level. Houston's defense is bad, but Minshew isn't a bad quarterback. He's competent. I think the Texans can score. I think the Texans put up 30. I think Jacksonville, they failed to score 17, I believe, with Minshew at quarterback. I think they score, 14, something like that. I think Houston, coming off a bye, they're going to come out and they're going to win this game. I think this is one of the best bets of the week. I'll take the Texans to win and to cover. This is honestly like a why is this spread so low kind of game. I get the Texans aren't a very good team, but when you just look at the quarterback matchup alone, and then you factor in that the Jags, they lost the first game by double digits. Their defense isn't good. Their run game has been significantly worse as of late. I just don't see it. I don't get it. And I'll take the Texans to win. I'll take the Texans to cover. Next game, is the Carolina Panthers at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are minus 11 points. The Chiefs rolled the Jets to the point of swag surfing on the Jets in the middle of the game. And, that shows a different level of confidence and some would say arrogance, but it is what it is. Carolina coming off a Thursday night loss, but they do have an extra few days to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. The way I look at this game is I see Carolina. It really comes down to how Teddy and the offense plays for Carolina, because we already know that the Chiefs aren't going to be stopped in this game. Now, maybe Christian McCaffrey comes back and he plays in this game. That doesn't really change who I'm picking or my mindset for this game at all, to be honest with you. Maybe that allows them to attack the linebackers a little bit easier or better of the Chiefs. But the Chiefs defense at this point is kind of underrated, and especially versus the pass. And I think they'll be good enough in that area to hold down the Panthers from making this game close, where the Chiefs are worrying about the result. Maybe an upset. I'm not worried about an upset, especially in Kansas City. So I'll take the Chiefs to win pretty easily. I'll take the Chiefs to cover because I don't really want to have, myself sweating this out on Sunday. I think the Chiefs win by like 14. The spread's going to be pretty close, but I'll take the Chiefs to cover 11. All they got to do is beat them by 2 touchdowns. I think they're capable of doing that. I think Carolina was a little bit of a fraud at the beginning of the year. They not necessarily a fraud, but like a team that was just outdoing their expectation. They were just playing better than expectation, and they've kind of come back to earth a little bit. So I expect the Chiefs to be able to win and to roll in this game and continue to just look like the championship team that they are. Next game is the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is interesting because Matthew Stafford apparently was put on the COVID list, and he may or may not play. He was apparently tested negative, so that would sign that he might still play. So I'm basically going to narrow it down for you. If Matthew Stafford plays, I'm taking the Lions. If Matthew Stafford does not play, I'm taking the Vikings. I do not take much stock into the Vikings beating the Packers because it was a divisional game, because it had a lot to do with Dalvin Cook steamrolling the Packers. I don't think they can do that to the Lions. The Lions defense that's been much, much better versus the run than the Packers, or that they were earlier in the year. And I do think that Stafford, and even without Kenny Golladay, as long as he's in the lineup, would be able to torch a mediocre to less than stellar secondary and pass defense of the Vikings. So I think if Stafford plays, the Lions find a way to win. It would be a close game with Chase Daniel as the quarterback who would replace Stafford. Now remember, Daniel did beat the Vikings last year, just throwing that out there. But I don't think that Chase Daniel would be able to beat the Vikings this year with this supporting cast. The thing that worries me about the Lions moving forward is how serious is the Kenny Golladay injury. Because I think if Kenny Golladay is healthy, this team is legitimately a threat for a 7th or 6th wildcard spot. They had a rough game. The game got out of hand last week. They lost Kenny in the second series. But I've seen enough good things in a weekend NFC where they could sneak in if Galladay's okay. But depending on how serious that injury is, it does concern me moving forward for Detroit. For Minnesota, they just don't have a pass rush. They don't have a secondary outside of their 2 safeties. Their offense is predicated on running the ball, and it won't be able to run the ball at will this week. So I think that makes the game close. And the way the Vikings are trying to play is they're trying to make the games low scoring by running the ball a lot. So, and this is another thing. I think the Lions are in that game versus the Colts if they just let Stafford throw every down. Because they were ripping apart the Colts. A good defense in that second half. They were shredding them. But they just continued to run the ball, Adrian Peterson and Swift, for 1 yard, and it was just putting them behind the chains. So that's something that needs to change from an offensive philosophy standpoint, but that would mean that Stafford actually plays. So you guys get the point. If Stafford plays, I got the Lions. If Stafford doesn't play, if it's Chase Daniel, I'll take Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and the Vikings. I also expect my man Justin Jefferson to get back on track in this game. He had a tough matchup last week, but he'll get back on track. So don't worry. I got him in fantasy too. All right. The next game is the Chicago Bears at the Tennessee Titans. This is low-key one of the best games of the week. Iffy team in the NFC versus sort of an iffy team in the AFC as well. The Titans are starting to regress. The Titans are really defensively a trash can. Like, there's no other way to put it. A trash can. They faced the worst offensive line in football before the injuries, then played the worst offensive line in football, minus 4 players, and then still couldn't get a sack. They didn't even get a quarterback hit registered on Joe Burrow. They are an absolute trash can. Now, on the other side, the Titans' offense is pretty good, but they love to run the ball. And when you run the ball over Chicago, you're running into an absolute brick wall. So really, they're not going to be successful there. So it's on Tannehill. On the flip side, if Foles could actually get a little bit of time, the Bears showed some spunk last week on offense. So this is interesting. I could see the Bears winning this game, but I just don't trust their offense enough to pick them in this game. I'm going to take the better quarterback. I'm going to take the better passing game. I'm going to take the better offense. I'm going to take them to get back on track, the Titans, to win this game at home. I will take the 6, though, because Chicago's defense is competitive, and I do see a scenario where if Nick Foles has time, he can eat this defense. So I'll take the 6 points. I could see an upset. I just think the Titans are a better team. So I'll take the Titans to win by like a field goal. But I'm definitely taking the points here. By the way, I will shout out Nick. Okay, Mooney is playing well. Miller showed some spunk last week. It's my new favorite word when it comes to the Bears. But if I have to watch the Bears, specifically David Montgomery, run a inside zone from shotgun with 0 holes one more time, I will seriously break my television. Like, I don't want to watch that anymore. Can we just run with a fullback? Like, can we give the guy a chance at least to have a hole? I don't think the Bears have had a hole in the run game since Nam. Like, I don't remember the last time they had an ability to move the ball on the ground. Matt Forte was possibly the running back the last time they were a decent running football team. It is atrocious. It is bad. Next. What's the next game? The New York G-Men at the Washington Reds football team. New York is underdogs in this game after a pretty competitive Monday night showing versus one of the elite teams in football and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, guys, I'm still getting comments that the Bucs aren't good, which is what it is, I guess. Anyways, the Giants, I like the Giants in this game. In a game between two shit teams, I'll take the team that's getting points. I'll also take the team that I think, yes, they make mistakes. He makes mistakes, Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones also makes more plays than Kyle Allen. I like the Giants' receiving options. I thought their offensive line played well versus Tampa Bay. I like Joe Judge, and I specifically like the physicality, the toughness, and the grit that his team plays with. I think they're competitive each and every week. Washington, they could make this one close. This game's going to be close either way, whoever wins. They're coming off a bye, so that's in their favor. They're not coming off a short week like New York, so there's a factor there. But they don't really do anything particularly well outside of rush the quarterback. And we saw that the Giants, Daniel Jones is not affected by the rush. He's going to fumble versus anybody. But he's going to make throws too. So I'll take the Giants. I'll take the Giants to win. I just think they're the slightly better team. I like what I've seen from them more this season. I believe they won the first matchup on a 2-point conversion failure from Washington. I could be wrong there. Now, do I see the Giants sweeping? I mean, that is tough to see, but I just think they're better. I do. So I'll take the Giants. Who cares, to be honest? I mean, I guess these two teams are still in it, but they're both bad. Next game is the Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers. I believe this game started as the Chargers being favored in this game by multiple points. I could be wrong, but I don't know. The Raiders are a better football team. I don't understand why the Raiders are not favored in this game. They showed you versus the Browns that they are better than the Browns, which they should have been favored versus the Browns. They were not. And I said this last week. The Raiders are a better football team than the Chargers. The Chargers were up multiple scores on the Broncos, but the Chargers continue to find ways to lose games. Justin Herbert's playing really well. He should have a good game again versus a pretty nice matchup for himself. But the Raiders are a feisty unit on defense. They find ways to make plays. They're competitive. They're not a pushover on defense. And offensively, they're excellent at controlling the clock. They're excellent at running the ball. They have a great offensive line. Derek Carr makes good decisions. He rarely loses you games. And John Gruden's a good coach. And they have more to fight for in this game than the Chargers do. I think the Raiders are the better team. Straight up. I think they got the better coach. I think Anthony Lynn is on the hot seat after multiple big losses by 20-point favor, up by 20 points and losing. I think he's on the hot seat. So I'll take the Raiders to win this game in a tight, entertaining, divisional game, higher scoring. But I like the Raiders. Next game is the Miami Dolphins at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 4.5. Miami had a great showing on defense last week versus the Rams. I think they currently rank as a top 3 defense in football right now under Brian Flores with a excellent secondary. Their front is, running that typical who's coming, who's going, who's dropping, who's blitzing looks from Brian Flores and Kyle Van Noy up front. And they got big stout guys in the middle of their defense from Davis, who they drafted, Wilkins, who they drafted. They have a stronger run defense than I thought they would, but their pass defense is elite, kind of like I thought it would be. And I said before the year, they're going to get better and better on defense going through the season. And I think they're going to show you here that their defense will be good enough to make this game really interesting. I think the Finns have a chance, but I'm ultimately going to go with the Cardinals because this game's not in Miami. So there's not going to be any of that weird stuff. And number 2, Tua. Tua sucked last week. I mean, he threw for 4 yards per attempt. It was his first start, so I'll give the kid a break. But he's not Herbert. He's not Burrow. The Cardinals' defense is not a pushover either. And Budda Baker, Patrick Peterson, Byron Murphy, that secondary's playing well. I think Kyler makes enough plays and Hopkins and these guys on offense. Edmonds getting the starting tailback role, which will actually be better for them. This team, this offense should be able to score at least 20 And I think that will be good enough to win. Because Kyler's not going to lose the game like Jared Goff did. Like, he's just not. He's not going to straight up lose the Cardinals the game. Now, the Dolphins will have to do a good job containing Kyler, taking away his legs, which I think they can do that. And I think they can make it competitive. But I just don't believe enough in their quarterback to win a game versus a top 10 quarterback on the other side. So I'll take the Cardinals to win this game. In terms of the points, that's a tough conversation, to be honest with you. I'm going to say that I'll take the Dolphins. I mean, 4.5 is quite a bit, to be honest. So I'll take the Dolphins with the 4.5, but I'll take the Cardinals to win the game. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Dallas Cowboys. I'll keep this one short and simple. Now, I do believe the line has moved up to 14, so I'll go based on that. I'm taking the Steelers. They're going to blow out the Cowboys. They don't have a quarterback. Their offensive line's garbage. Two things that the Pittsburgh Steelers will thrive off of. They have one of the most aggressive, blitzing pass rushes in football that will cause the Cowboys offense a lot of issues. Their defense in Dallas is bad. We know this, and Ben should have a good game, along with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster. Too many threats, too much to handle for Dallas. This game will be a certified blowout. The only thing that the Steelers have to worry about is a letdown game. Unless this is a letdown game, unless this is a come-out flat game for Pittsburgh, that would be the only way that Dallas covers, to be quite honest with you. Not even win, but cover. I could see a world where that happens, given the Steelers have consistently done this in the past. But this team is too well-balanced, too good, and understanding that they are first in the AFC. They need to maintain their lead in the AFC. They want that number 1 seed. This is a game they must put away early, and they have the opportunity to do that. I'm taking the Steelers. I'll take them to cover. The stream of the week is the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels on the call. Chris Collinsworth on the call. Saints, Bucks, Brady, Breeze, 2. And my man AB is suiting up in this game, as well as Michael Thomas suiting up for the New Orleans Saints. So we have, let's just say, 2 of the best receivers of the last decade suiting up in their first action in a while for both teams. Thomas, his first action since week 1 when he played the Bucks, and for Brown, his first action since last year versus the Dolphins with the Patriots and Tom Brady. The Bucks are 5-point favorites. It actually started, this is interesting to note, the spread started at 4, and then it actually didn't go down, it went up after Monday Night Football, which is very interesting. Chris Godwin is expected to play. He had a finger injury. He was out versus the Giants, but he's expected to play. He got full participant in the walkthrough today, as well as AB is playing in this game. Any other injuries I don't really know of. For the Bucks, they're pretty healthy outside of Vita Vea being on IR. For the Saints, I don't know the situation with Emmanuel Sanders. I assume he's playing, but I'm not exactly sure. But there is something to note. Alvin Kamara has a minor ankle injury, which is definitely interesting. I don't believe Quan Alexander is allowed to play in this game. I could be wrong, but I think because of COVID protocols, he will not be able to suit up. I actually think this is going to be a statement game for the Bucks. I think there's a lot of people out there that think the Saints are going to make this one close because they've kind of had the Bucks number in the past. They beat them in the first game. But there was a lot of things that happened in that first game that I don't think are going to be repeatable for Tampa Bay. They had multiple turnovers in the game that were strictly based on chemistry. A deep out route to Scotty Miller or Justin Watson, I think. That was a pick 6. A fumble within the 20-yard line off of a guy's helmet on a kickoff. They took over 10 penalties, and Tom Brady was picked off throwing it to Mike Evans over the middle of the field when they read the wrong route. Since then, the Bucks have gotten a lot better on offense. They've found an identity. They've beaten quality opponents by multiple touchdowns, and every time they played an quality opponent, they have blown them off the field. The Packers, the Raiders being two of them. And for New Orleans, they've looked worse and worse since that game, right? They've lost to the Raiders. Now, they've continued to win, but they're kind of winning ugly. Drew Brees is playing decent, but this is an interesting stat for you. Drew Brees has completed only 11 passes over 20 yards this year. Tom Brady has completed 43. So that kind of tells you the difference between the two quarterbacks at this point. Tampa has the significantly better defense in this game. They did a great job versus Kamara in the first game. I actually want to check the stats from the first game because people are going to look at that as a reason to pick the Saints or to bet on the Saints. And I don't know if that exactly applies because of the weird offseason that we were dealing with this year. When you look at the first game, the score was 34-23 for New Orleans. Now, from a statistical standpoint, the Bucs had more first downs, more rushing yards, more passing yards, more total yards, punted less, had more penalties, they lost 2 fumbles, and they were intercepted twice. Drew Brees was 18 for 30 for 160 yards. Michael Thomas had 17 yards. Alvin Kamara ran for 16 yards. Now, maybe some of that stuff regresses from that standpoint. But again, you add AB. Godwin is healthier. Gronk looks a lot better. So everything tells me to go with the Bucs. They're just playing better football. They're the more talented team. They have so many mismatches versus the Saints defense. It's not even funny. So I think, and they're at home. They're not in the Dome in New Orleans. So I think the Bucs win this game by double digits. I'm going to say they win 34-20 over the Saints. Saints will move the ball. They'll have their moments. But the way the Bucs are built on defense with the fast linebackers takes away the Alvin Kamara stuff, and then they double Michael Thomas. You don't really have anything else to worry about after you do that. And then they can stop the run better than anybody. On offense, how are the Saints going to cover AB, Godwin, and Evans? I mean, okay, so Lattimore takes Evans. Fine. And Gronk. I just don't see it. This is where the Bucs would lose. The Bucs lose if they play bad miscues, penalties, and they don't score in the red zone, which the Bucs have been excellent in the red zone this year. So, what's another reason they could lose? I mean, I don't really see it happening. Like, as long as the Bucs play with and limit their mistakes, they should win. Now, something I want to see from the Bucs is please stop running on first down so much. I mean, this is the biggest flaw of the Bucs. It has nothing to do with their talent. It has nothing to do with quarterback. It has nothing to do with offensive line, defensive line, secondary, wide receiver, tight end, running back. It has nothing to do with that. It's all to do with play calling on offense. It's just very obvious and predictable. Now, you could be predictable when you have Godwin, Evans, and AB. But the reason that game versus the Giants was so close was because they had Mickens and all these other dudes, trying to catch the football out there, and they didn't have the elite talent on the field. But they need to, now that AB is there, now that Godwin is there, this should be a Tom Brady-driven offense. Let the other team match you. I don't care for ball control. just let Brady handle the ball. He's not going to make mistakes. He rarely makes mistakes. Run the ball as a supplement to your passing game because this team is built to shred people in the passing game. The run game isn't bad for Tampa. It's mediocre. But when you run the ball on first down and you're not getting it going, specifically versus a team like the Giants or the Saints, where they're good versus the run, there's no point. Use your mismatches on the outside. Pick on those mismatches and then run the ball in short yardage, run the ball to keep a balance, but they should definitely be using more play action on first down, more quick throws on first down, and I think AB and Godwin being in the lineup will help that happen and help that kind of drive starters take place within this offense where they don't have that without Godwin. They don't have that without AB, and they strip that away from their offense, and all of a sudden they rely on their running game. This team, this Bucs team, has been a different team when they play without Godwin. So getting AB was not only a good, addition, or if Godwin's not there, a replacement, but now he just adds another weapon to the fold. So I'm really intrigued to see how it works. I think this is the Bucs game to lose, and this is a chance for a statement game here from Tampa Bay. Now, if the Saints win, I'll come out and I'll say where I was wrong, why I was wrong, and I'll say I was wrong, but I don't see it happening, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I got Tampa Bay to win. I got Tampa Bay to cover in this game. Now, the Monday Night Football game is the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. We go from Brady and Breeze to the Jets and Patriots. Yeah. Monday Night Football got gypped on that one. I will say, the Patriots should win this game by a lot. And if they don't, I'm going to be mad. So I'll take New England to win. I'll take New England to cover. It's the damn Jets. I don't care. All right. But here's the thing. This is why I have a feeling New England's going to win this game. They weren't sellers at the deadline. They only added multiple players to key areas of deficiency. They even though they were low profile, they went out, they signed Dante Moncrief. They traded for Isaiah Ford. They added like 3 defensive tackles to the practice squad that they're elevating. So New England is clearly not in sell mode. They're clearly still trying to put forth an effort. So it's not like they're going to just lose this game because they sold Gilmore. Gilmore will be back this game. So New England should easily win this game. I just don't see how the Jets really score. Like, they'll try to run, but they can't really run well on anyone. I think New England is going to try to get that run defense going, which I know that Bill is going to be angry with the way that it played last game. And Cam played well last week. That's probably a myth that other people are telling you he didn't play well. The offense was better last week for New England versus Buffalo, and this Jets defense isn't better than Buffalo's defense. I think they win like 27-10. Something like that. It's pretty boring. It's pretty dull. The defense gets a couple turnovers. They get in good field position. They score. Could it be a grinded out Jets-Patriots game of the past? Sure, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But I do think that there's been a statement this week from Belichick that he is pissed off and he is taking an approach with this team that he went to the media to directly signal that something's going to change. I think there was a strategy behind him going to the media and saying he sold out for 3 Super Bowls. I think for some people think it's okay. He's trying to take the blame off of himself, which is totally fine and fair. But I think on another way you could look at it is he's trying to motivate his players. He's trying to tell them that you guys aren't what we used to have here. You need to play better. You need to be better. And I think this is Bill Belichick's 2020 message of getting his team on track. And it's not like New England is totally out of it. They have a lot of winnable games the rest of the way. The only good team that I would deem to be a good team that they play the rest of the way is Baltimore. The rest of the games are winnable. or divisional games, which are winnable games. They play the Jets twice. They play the Dolphins again. They play the Bills again. They play like the NFC West other than the Seahawks, which are they play the Rams and the Cardinals, which sure, they might be better on paper than New England, but are they really? I don't know. Not necessarily. I don't think so, especially the Rams, who seem to not play well versus Patriot teams or Patriot systems. So, you look at their schedule and everyone's going to be writing off New England. I like what I saw. I like the effort I saw last week. They should have won the game last week. So, they'll lose to Baltimore, but I mean, they can beat the Jets. They can beat the Texans. They could beat the Chargers. They can beat the Rams. All these games are winnable. So they're still in this. There's no reason to say that they should just lose. All right? I'm going with the Patriots because they need to win this game to remain respectability. If they lose this game, they are no longer respectable. They are no longer respectable. So they got to win. And they got to cover. All right? They got to. And Durkant, Patriots can definitely beat Miami if they're starting Tua. That's all I'll say. They beat them already by double digits. Anyways, let's get to the chat. Randomness says, let's be real. Dolphins are underrated. They beat the Niners and the Rams. Dolphins are the NFC West kryptonite. Miami does something in Miami to make the opponents come out lackadaisical. Keto says Ravens, Cards, Bills, Dolphins, Rams, all L's, looking like a losing season. You think all of those games are L's? I will bet you that not all of those games are L's. Okay, they might not make the playoffs. They probably won't make the playoffs. But saying they're going to lose every game on the rest of their schedule is literally insane. Literally insane. Daycare says P. Ryan goes up for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Jets' first win of the season. Ryu says this is not the same Pats team, bro. No talent. I'm a Pats fan. Their offense is lacking receiver talent. Outside of that, if they can find a way to scheme up better run defense, which is totally possible, this team is not bad. They have really good areas of their team, which are solid, that a lot of teams would love to have. A lot of teams would love to have their secondary. A lot of teams would love to have their offensive line. So, I don't think they're a bottom tier team. Okay, just put it this way. If Cam Newton doesn't fumble and they score and beat the Bills, everyone's talking totally differently about this team. It's just facts. I do agree with that, Durkant. They should have taken Metcalf. Where would they be now? Shit, they might have won the Super Bowl last year. Is Daniel Jones better next year with Saquon? They need a better offensive line. It's not just about Saquon, but they need a better offensive line. But I don't know. Daniel Jones, he just might not have it from a mental standpoint. I think he has the physical talent, but the mental capabilities are lacking for him. He needs to, I don't know what it is. He just needs to be smarter. It's really as simple as that. Daniel says Cam Newton resurrection. Let's go, bro. Last ride. Backs against the wall. No one believes in us. Let's go. Rally the troops. Keto says, 4 of those 5, most likely the first 3 and 1 of the Rams or the Dolphins. Randomness says Giants need a lot of better things. That is true. Kevin Durkant says, Mitch, I watched the Hey Rookie of Harry and Metcalf. I don't know how people overthought Metcalf so much, but they're wowed on Harry. I don't know either. I don't know what makes you say on the tape or through the workouts that Harry was better than Metcalf. But that was just the narrative from a lot of people. And that's the thing, is narrative is a big part of drafting. Like, look at Justin Herbert this year. Like, apparently there was only a few scouts that thought Herbert was a franchise quarterback, and so far he's proving them wrong. Jude says, do I start Rojo, Fournette, Swift, or Damian Harris? Fantasy questions. I would honestly go with Damian Harris. In a half PPR league. If it was PPR, I would go with Fournette. Carson says, do you have to say that this is the least inspiring Pats team in over 20 years, but still believe? I don't know, in over 20 years. Probably since 2000. Yeah. Daniel says, watch Isaiah Ford be the piece we need. Can Isaiah Ford even play this week? Durkant says Metcalf was basically teaching Ari how to do the workouts that he perfected. Katie says, I'm sorry. Ultra says the Patriots' chances of making the playoffs are about as high as the Falcons. Sorry, Mitch. I don't know, man. I don't know. I won't write them off yet. They're terrible at drafting receivers. I don't think it's about developing them. I think it's drafting them. Singh says Darnold will throw 4 picks like he did last year. I hope you're right. Ryu says Bill Belichick's a great coach, but Bill the GM has been trash when it comes to drafting. I would say Belichick has let me down. He's been a bad GM for the past 2 years. He's had bad stretches of GM-ship. He was a really bad GM from like 2008 to like 2011 or 20, like, okay. He was a bad GM from like, other than Randy Moss, which was a good move. He's had some really good moves, but his drafts from like 2007 to like 2009 were bad. And his drafts the last like 3 or 4 years have been bad. So he's had stretches where he was really good, but he's had stretches where he's been really bad. So like any other GM, you know, he's been really good and really bad at certain times. I still think he's an excellent GM, but just over the past couple of years, he's been bad. He hasn't been able to put receivers on the field. He hasn't been able to put tight ends on the field. Clear weaknesses that they've needed. You know, somebody commented like, well, he tried to sign AB. He didn't know AB was going to be cut by the Raiders. Like, give me a break. That was like that would have bailed him out so hard if that ended up working. Mitch, who's in the MVP race? Wilson, Mahomes, Brady. Maybe Rodgers, but that's it. Randomness says, who do you think should hire Bill O'Brien as a coach and a coach only? Maybe, I want to say the Cowboys, but nah. Good question. I don't know where he would like really fit well. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Maybe college. Tomlin doesn't draft. He's a coach. He's not a GM. Keith says, what about Rodgers? I put Rodgers in there, but he's like last on the list. Durkant says, Dalvin Cook's better than Alvin Kamara. Fight me if you disagree. On that note, I think we'll take off. Ultra says, let's square up. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed tonight's picks vid. If you did, Gronk spiked that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to comment your questions, fantasy questions, pick questions, betting questions. Oh, I forgot. I almost forgot my record. Let's update my record. I had a rough week last week, but hey, better late than never for that. So I'll just show you guys my record, go over it a little bit. Do I even have it here? I might have to download it, so I'll answer a couple more questions here. But I do want to show you just to update so people don't comment and say, "Where's your record? You forgot to update it. How do I know you're good at this if you don't update your record?" That's literally comments I get when I don't update my record. So I got to do it. I don't know what you're talking about, Alex. What are you talking about, bro? Tony says, I've been a Patriot fan since Jim Plunkett was the quarterback, and this is the worst team we've had Patriot-wise. Come on, that's a little much. The Patriots were pretty terrible after Jim Plunkett. Pretty bad. You would know that. They are not they're a middle-of-the-pack team. They're not. I mean, maybe it looks bad because they've been so good for so long, but saying they were worse than some of the teams in the 90s or in the 80s, even 2000, is a bit much to me. I will take Adrian Peterson there. Okay, let me update my record. All right, there it is. 85-34 straight up. Had a rough week last week, bro. I think we went under 500, to be honest with you. Spread 68-49, still like 20 games above 500, basically. Best bets 19, 17, and 2. You could get that on Patreon. We're also doing another video on Patreon where I go over the early spreads and I tell you kind of where I'm leaning for my best bets. So that you could check that out on Patreon. So before I leave you, a couple plugs. Make sure you do become a patron to support me, support the channel, keep this dream alive. Starts at $3 a month. On Patreon, you get exclusive NFL content not seen on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram at TheBottomLineView, where we also post exclusive content not seen on YouTube. And you can join the community of the Bottom Line View in the Discord. Link is in the description for the Instagram. Link is in the description for the Discord and for the Patreon. So all things are in the description. Check it out. Over 210 people in the Discord talking football. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's Mitch. Peace.